How to overcome self-doubt as an entrepreneur. As entrepreneurs, we deal with a wide range of emotions. It's just part of the job. We're also constantly managing issues and problems that pop up in our business. So while we'd love to just be sort of guiding the ship and having everything go wonderful all the time, the reality of it is there's a lot of difficulties, a lot of obstacles, and as the CEO, as the business owner and the entrepreneur or founder, it's our job to make sure we can navigate those in order to keep going towards success. So when times are good, it's easy to see the payoff of what we're doing and to stay motivated and to keep going. But there are low times too. So it's not always fun. It's not always easy. There are times when we feel a bit down or we feel a bit defeated and worn out, when it seems like there are more problems than there are solutions. And we might even start to doubt ourselves or our idea to start and run a business altogether. So first off, if you've been there or you're there now, take a deep breath. It happens to all of us, no matter how good we are, no matter how talented we are, how great a vision we have, or what we've already accomplished. So know that you're not alone. Self-doubt creeps in on every single entrepreneur at one time or another. The important thing isn't to try to avoid the self-doubt, it's what we do about it. Do we let it defeat us, or do we break through and do we keep going? So let's talk about some practical things that we can do to get us through our times of struggle. Because invariably and inevitably, those times are coming. If we haven't already experienced them, we're going to. But the flip side of the coin is, despite the fact that we have to work through these things, if we do it and we do it in a way that's effective, we actually come out the back side of it that much more strong, that much more resilient, and that much more confident, ironically. So the first thing, or one of the most important things to do right off the bat, and I touched on it already, is to recognize that you're not alone, right? If we're in a situation where we're doubting our ability, we're feeling like a fake, we're feeling, is anybody going to want my product? I don't know why it isn't selling. Maybe my vision wasn't very good. And it's hard sometimes not to take that personally, because if it's our business and it's something we've done out of passion, we're sort of exposing ourselves. We're putting ourselves out there. We're being vulnerable in saying, this is the product or service that I created, thinking that it was going to fill this need. So if we don't get immediate acceptance and adoption of it, sometimes we can feel as though nobody's really interested. Our idea isn't really that good. And self-doubt is a really common experience among entrepreneurs, even very successful ones, because at one time or another, something doesn't go right. And we may internalize that. We might start to feel like it's our fault, like we should have foreseen that, or whatever else. And it's important not to be as hard on ourselves, to understand that other people go through this. So the first thing is we're not alone. Understanding that can help normalize the feeling and reduce the isolation. If we just get comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable, if we just recognize the fact that this is part of the package. This is why, by the way, not everyone's an entrepreneur. Not everybody has, even if they have a vision, even if they have a drive, they don't have the stomach for it. They don't have the fortitude to be able to keep going despite the fact that there's a lot of discomfort. There are things that are going to be difficult that we have to work through. So one really, really important thing right off the bat is to recognize that we're in this together. We're not alone if we run through that situation. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs in history had tremendous struggles with self-doubt. Another thing we could do is we could focus on past successes. Even if we're just getting started, even if it's our first day or first week as an entrepreneur with our actual business, there are things we've done in our life, there are things we've done in our past that were successful. It's just, again, the nature of being human. There's going to be some things we've done that we're proud of, some things we've done that we feel good about. So it's great if we have a track record in business where we can say, well, we did that, and I did that, and did that, and did that. Fantastic. But even if we don't have that, we can reflect on our previous achievements I don't care if it's, winning a sporting event in high school, or if it's, getting the lead in the school play, or if it's something in our adult life, we want a cornhole tournament or whatever. It doesn't matter. Anything that gives us a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of feeling successful and good about ourselves is valid and should be used in these kinds of situations. And we can reflect on that. And if we have a list in our business, then we should make note of those things so we don't forget them. Every time we hit a milestone, every time we do something that's positive, that's something that we should notate so that way we can go back to it later. We could keep it in a physical journal, or we could keep it online digitally and just open up that file anytime we need a boost. Because we've all accomplished things, and it can be very difficult to see that in low times. When we're not feeling good about things, we don't really want to be in that space because we're feeling bad anyway. Sometimes it's really important to be able to access that and not have to mentally think through it, because we aren't in a good headspace to be able to access those memories. So let's go back to something that we wrote down, that we charted, so we can remember all the cool stuff and good stuff that we did and things that we should be proud of. When we do that, our old triumphs and achievements help boost our confidence and remind ourselves of what we're capable of. Remind ourselves that, hey, I did that. Hey, other people said, that's really amazing. I couldn't have done that. And when we get into those kinds of mind frames, it helps pick us up. It helps make us feel better, and it helps get us back on track mentally. Because a lot of the game, the interesting thing about entrepreneurship is, despite the fact that it's business and it's dollars and cents and it's sales and it's marketing, a lot of the entrepreneurship game, especially for a solopreneur or a small business, is mental. It really is. It's getting ourselves in the right mind frame where we believe that we're going to be successful. We've all met somebody who had every single thing going for them, and yet for one reason or another felt inadequate, felt like they weren't good enough. And we've all met someone who was peddling some product or starting some business where we scratched our head and said, really? I mean, that's going to work? And yet they were successful because they just had this belief. They didn't even let the idea of doubt creep in terms of getting started. Whereas had they talked to a bunch of other people, they might have said, it's a crummy idea, don't do it. So, that's the thing. We have to be able to manage our mental state. Another really good thing, an important thing we can do is set short-term goals. We always are reaching for the brass ring. We've got our main goal, our world domination, our $100 million business where we're, jet skiing behind yachts and things like that. Regardless of what our goals are long-term, even if they're not quite that grandiose, even if it's pay off my mortgage, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If it's longer term, it's harder to access that in the current moment when we're in that kind of a state. If we set short-term goals, we're ticking off things, we're making progress, right? If you think of this as a weight loss analogy, or you think of it as a journey analogy, if I want to get from here to 1,000 miles away, if I'm focused on the 1,000 miles away, it feels so far, there's just no way I could ever do it. As soon as I start taking that first step and I say, you know what, this is just about running that first mile. Let's get that first mile. Then you get the first mile down, you're like, hey, that wasn't that bad, only $9.99 to go. I already got one done. If I can do one, I can do the rest. If we think about it as weight loss, we don't try to lose 50 pounds at one time. We try to lose one. If we can lose that one, then we could do it. So by breaking things down, I know it's sort of contrary to the way we're always taught to do this. And everybody always says it's really important to set these really audacious goals that's fantastic for like a dream journal, a dream board, something down the road. But to keep us motivated, to keep us focused and positive in the now, we sometimes need things that are small wins to keep us motivated. It's awesome when you have a little to-do list and you start the day, and even if the first 3 things are really simple, you tick those off, man, you already got momentum. You already start feeling good. Same idea. So shrink down our goals into smaller and smaller bite-sized pieces. They can still lead to the big goal at the end, but break it down so we can get some wins under our belt. And when we do that and we break down larger objectives into smaller, achievable milestones, what happens is it creates a sense of progress and a sense of accomplishment. And momentum is very important in business. As soon as we start to develop momentum, it's far easier to keep that momentum than it is to start it in the beginning. And so we want to incentivize ourselves with short, simple goals that we keep ticking off, as opposed to de-incentivize ourselves or start to feel overwhelmed or unsuccessful because the first milestone is 8 miles down the road. And so it's super important to be able to do that and to be able to provide that sense of progress and accomplishment to bolster our mood and bolster our confidence. Another key thing that we really want to do, and this is important but it's a little subtle, is we want to be very selective with feedback. If we talk to 100 different people about our business, about our goals, about our dreams, you're going to get a lot of different responses. Some people are going to say, hey, awesome, stand on my shoulders, let me know what it looks like from up there, this is fantastic. Other people are going to sneer at you or look at you or talk down to you, and they might not even mean it. They're just disappointed with their own situation. They don't have confidence in themselves, so they project that out on us. And what happens is when we're all excited and we run to somebody and we say, hey, guess what? This is what I'm going to do. And they're like, oh, that isn't going to work. The first thing that happens is we deflate. We start to go from feeling really good and confident and motivated to now we're actually defeated before we start because one person we shared our dream with crushed it. So it's important to be realistic and to have constructive criticism, but it's important to get it from reliable sources that we can trust. So we don't want to share everything we're doing with everyone we know. If we have trusted advisors, if we have mentors, if we have a mastermind group, if we have people that we know have our best interest in heart and understand what our situation is and what we're going through, then we can run our ideas by them with an open mind and brace ourselves. I mean, sometimes the feedback won't be positive, but that's what we want. We need people to be honest with us. If everyone just tells us, yes, that's a great idea, we're going to go down rabbit holes that have no chance of success. So we want to pick and choose the sources that we allow feedback from, and we want to reject it or ignore it from anywhere else. So we focus on feedback that's actually helpful. So if it's constructive criticism, that's fine. If it's, hey, love the enthusiasm and the idea, but what about if you did it this way? I think that might be more successful. Okay, great. They're not, throwing cold water on your dream. They're just trying to give advice in terms of what might work or what might be a better way. And that's always valuable to get outside advice. But we want to avoid people or situations that are overly negative and that are unhelpful. If it's just a bunch of negativity, if it's just a wet blanket on top of our enthusiasm, that's pointless. That does nothing for us. There's no value in it. And all it does is make us feel crummy. So if there's constructive elements to it, but somebody is just direct and harsh, that's okay. And we have to pick and choose the sources that we want to share our stuff with and pick and choose the sources that we actually listen to in return. There may be people in our lives we cannot avoid. Maybe they're family members. We all have that family member that's negative about everything, right? And we might be forced to listen to them. That's okay, but we can reject what they say. We can just ignore it, avoid it as much as possible, and if we're forced into it, we can listen but not pay any attention. Just space out, be in somewhere in another world, and ignore everything they're saying. Just nod our head, yeah. And that's it, let it go. If we argue, if we try to fight, what happens is then it becomes confrontational, and then we start feeling even worse because they start doubling down on their negativity. So we want to avoid that. Another really important thing is to accept what we can't control. We have to accept the fact that we have limited control over our situation. There are going to be a lot of things that happen in business. some that literally will make you scratch your head and feel cursed. I had a brick and mortar business when I was younger, and literally, this is no exaggeration, my two best customers that were reseller customers, so they bought thousands and thousands of dollars, both died. They both passed away within about 6 months of each other. Completely unexpected. Neither one of them had failing health. It was absolutely shocking, totally unpredictable. So we just need to recognize that some factors are beyond our influence, and we have to focus on responding effectively to the challenges instead of trying to control everything. You know, as entrepreneurs, one of the things that's a blessing and a curse is our need to control, our need to be present and run everything is both the thing that can help us be successful, but if we don't temper it, if we don't have an off switch or turn it down a little bit sometimes, it can drive us insane because you can't control everything in your environment, in your business, in the economy, in the world. You can't. Nobody could control COVID. It happened. We had to be able to adjust, adapt, and pivot. So accept the fact that we can't control everything. That will let ourselves off the hook emotionally for feeling as though we're responsible. Practice self-acceptance. Allow ourselves to acknowledge our doubts, right? It's okay. Look, I'm not a perfect human being. I have doubts. I have days that are harder to get up, harder to motivate. Everybody wants to believe that every entrepreneur jumps out of bed in the morning, smile on the face, can't wait to get to work. That's not the case. We all have days where we're thinking, oh, I should have done anything other than this. But we also all have days where we're so excited because we're living our dreams. We're doing what we feel we were meant to do. And so accept ourselves for who we are, the good, bad, and the ugly. We've all got all those parts. It doesn't matter. Allow ourselves to briefly acknowledge the doubts. It's okay. We don't have to push it away or scare it or be scared of it. We have to acknowledge it and understand I'm a human being. I have emotions. I'm going to have doubt. I'm going to have some times where I feel worried about stuff or whatever, and I'm scared. But we still move forward without dwelling on them. That is the key. It's not the absence of doubt. It's keeping going despite the fact that we have doubt. Another thing we can do, and this depends, it's situational, but if we have lack of confidence or self-doubt about the viability of our product or, whether or not people are going to want it or whatever, we can spend a little more time refining our ideal client. So if we get a very clear understanding of who we can serve and get in that situation with them where we join the conversation so we can feel their visceral pain, we can feel how much they're struggling, we can feel how much they want to reach their goals. It's going to make us feel much better because if we have a solution to that, we're really going to want to offer it to them instead of feeling like, oh, we're pushing it on them and we hope people will like it. Instead, we'll know that they really need it and that this can be transformative. So if we doubt that part of it at all, our product, our service, our offering, we could get deeper and deeper in with our customers, engage in those conversations, refine our customer profile, and make sure we really understand the impact in a positive way that our products and services can have. That'll be motivating and confidence boosting as well. We can, by the same token, improve our website and branding. If we're starting to feel a little crummy because we look at our website and it looks like a 12-year-old made it, then okay, there might be a little expense if we don't have any skills, but as long as we're not totally cash strapped, maybe throw a few $100 into getting the website revamped. Make it look like something we're proud of, that we want to showcase. All of those things will help boost us in terms of feeling better and being proud to tell people our website so they can go visit it. If we enhance our online presence, it can increase pride in our business and reduce our hesitation in promoting it. We'll feel better and more confident about it. Another thing is just flat out taking action. Sometimes we get stuck in our own heads. I'm an analytical guy, so I'm a terrible culprit of this. I'm always in my own head. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. We want to reflect, we want to adjust, we want to adapt, we want to analyze, but we don't want to be stuck in that analysis phase where we get paralyzed by it and the doubt creeps in, and so we do nothing. That makes us even feel worse about trying to do anything. Instead of overthinking it, let's focus on taking concrete steps toward our goals. If we need to, break down our to-do list into 3 to 5 tasks we're going to complete that day. They can be simple, they can be short, they can be whatever, but make sure we're going to go ahead and take action and get those done. The more action we take, the smaller our doubts become. It's a really fascinating sort of inverse relationship. The more action we take, the more our confidence starts to rise, the more our doubts start to disappear. And that same cycle will create momentum that keeps it going. Another hugely important thing that entrepreneurs are notoriously bad at, but it's very important in terms of our self-esteem and our confidence, is prioritizing self-care. Regular exercise, nutrition, adequate sleep, they all can impact our mental resilience. When we are exhausted, when we're depleted, when we haven't eaten well, and we know we're letting ourselves down personally, it's a lot harder to brook those difficult times and disappointments in business. So we want to schedule in time to do that. We can find ways to cook things or buy things that are really healthy. This doesn't need to be a lifestyle shift. We don't need to go off the deep end and spend 4 hours a day on this stuff. A 20-minute walk around the building or the house or the neighborhood at lunchtime is at least some exercise. Getting out in nature. Throwing a piece of chicken on the grill instead of eating a burger is whatever. Having a salad. These kinds of things can help us feel better about ourselves, and they boost our confidence. Another thing is, don't be afraid to ask for help. Seek support. Connect with other entrepreneurs or work with a mentor. They can provide really valuable perspectives and encouragement and keep reinforcing the idea we're not alone. We have to work through this, and that we'll get there if we just keep going. Practice mindfulness and stoicism, right? These things, the more we're in our own mind and just present, but not panicking or in fear or analyzing or worrying, they can help maintain perspective, and they actually help reduce anxiety about the things that are outside of our control. So remember that overcoming self-doubt is an ongoing process. It's not a one and done, but by implementing these strategies consistently, we can build confidence and resilience, and that'll allow us to focus on growing our businesses and achieving our goals. So the takeaway here is being successful as an entrepreneur isn't about having all the answers or all the confidence. It's about staying focused on what we're trying to accomplish and not letting ourselves fall into the cycle of feeling inadequate, unqualified, or undeserving, and letting those insecurities overwhelm us. Lean into the fear, lean into the doubt, accept it when we feel it, and keep going anyway. That's the way to build up confidence and to minimize how often we feel low, because the more times we succeed, the more action we take, and the more we work through it, the stronger we get, the more resilience we develop, and the more successful we become.